I'm gonna flip this one sample into 5 different genres to showcase the bounce for each genre. Better yet, I'm gonna do this all inside one project, so I have to blend together these genres seamlessly, which means automating the BPM, changing around the key, and the mix. To raise the stakes, I'm gonna send the finished track out to some top producers for each genre to see if I get absolutely roasted or to see if I nail the style. First, let's pick the sample to flip. There's so many places to find samples. I wanna pick one with some live vocals and guitar. You can go onto YouTube or different websites to find samples to flip. Just make sure that they're royalty free if you plan on sending out or releasing this track. I go into the iconic producer vault, which has melodies, samples, chord progressions for every single genre. I feel like R&B is a perfect balance. There are lots of really cool hip hop songs which have that kind of sampled vibe, where they go and grab like some old R&B sounding vocals and then put a trap beat on it, like Nice for What by Drake.
Yeah.
And you can also change around the bounce and swing a bit to make this R&B melody fit perfectly for reggae, Jersey club, and then for drill, I don't even know what I'm going to do, so stick around to see what happens there. I'm going to go into the Producer Vault R&B original melody library. I like this one. Thankfully, we include the stems and the MIDI for every melody we release. But if you grab a sample off YouTube, for example, I was making a video about how to flip samples. I went into the samples to flip YouTube playlist and found this one here. And you can use tools inside your DAW or free online tools to split this into the separate stems. In FL Studio, you click here, you click extract stems from sample, you select everything and you click extract, and then have a little nap.
Three hours later.
And then you have the actual stems to work with. The bass, instruments here, and then the vocals.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because we have the stems and MIDI here. I'm going to stretch them all to the project tempo, which means if I go and change the BPM, for example, they'll all re-stretch. And that's perfect because I'm going to be using different BPMs. Let's spin this wheel and see which genre is first. Alright, looks like it's going to be R&B. Let's start by grabbing some R&B drum samples and start producing the sequence with them. I have this bass here. I'm going to drag the MIDI in, grab the root notes for the bass. And this is a good starting point for the bass itself. I have this kick sequence here. R&B tends to have some kind of low-pitch, punchy kicks. It's good if they blend into the bass and feel very warm and full. And as far as the actual kick pattern goes, I tend to have them hitting on chord progressions, which makes it feel kind of smooth and syncopated versus feeling very bouncy, like in drill or hip-hop, which we're going to do later, which you really want to have that bounce. This is supposed to be more smooth and soulful. Right on the chord change there. Obviously this isn't a rule, but if you want that warm, smooth R&B feel, this is really important. We have this hi-hat with this hi-hat roll here. I'm going to mess with the velocity. If your R&B drums feel kind of robotic and lifeless, this is really going to ruin the vibe. One way you can change it is by messing with the pitch of some of the samples and also the volume. If you want to automate this process a bit, you can go into randomize and just mess with the panning. For this roll, for example, you can go from side to side. It gives it a really cool effect. And for the actual velocity, I'm going to turn bipolar off, reset the pan, and just lower the velocity a bit. It's going to keep the main hi-hats up a bit louder, but it's going to lower some of the notes in between. If you want to take out a hi-hat note, but you don't want it to feel really empty, you can actually leave a note in at a lower pitch, at a lower velocity. We have this hi-hat here with a bit more texture. It's going to be really cool to blend these into the background. I had this clap and this crash. And with some open hi-hats and percussion. I have some awesome tips and tricks for taking this to the next level. This involves adding some effects, chopping up the vocals, messing with the pitch and the timing. But for now, let's move into the next genre. This is tough because whatever this genre is, I'm gonna have to blend it in with R&B. So I really hope it's one like reggae. Uh-oh. Alright, this is going to be difficult. I'm going to have to blend this R&B beat with a hip hop beat. Thankfully we have the chord progression to work with and it makes it easy to find the root notes for the bass. We have this clap. Punchy kick sequence. You'll notice the slight difference between the kick and the 808 here. And the 808 comes in on this note here, which adds a lot of bounce to it. We have this hi-hat sequence here. It has so much bounce. It has a lot of these 1/3 rolls as well. Then we have a snare with some of these fills. I'm going to lower them down to a slightly higher pitch. With this open hi-hat here. I'm going to drag the MIDI onto a melody plugin, and we have the option here to actually go and add a melody on top of this. I'm going to find a pad that's a bit smoother. This is how we're going to give a really dark, mysterious feel to this hip-hop trap part of the beat. I'm going to come back and add so many cool effects to this and transition it from the R&B beat into the hip-hop beat. Next, let's go find the next genre. Hopefully it's drill. Oh my goodness. I've got the absolute worst luck when it comes to these. I lowered the BPM down to 107, which is a bit more of that reggae style. We have this bouncy kick sequence here. I'm going to drag the pattern to this guitar just to show you how I'm going to get that reggae bounce. I'm going to delay the chords. I really like that reggae bounce where the kick hits and the chords come in slightly later. I'm going to get that same effect here. It's just like a rough kind of placeholder for the melody. It'll help us figure out the bounce for the snare. We have this bass line here. This chant and percussion. This bouncy hi-hat. As well as a crash, and I think this is a perfect starting point for that reggae bouncy vibe. I have no clue how I'm going to transition any of these, so hopefully I come up with some ideas a little bit later. Let's find the next genre. Alright, from reggae to any of these is going to be really difficult. Reggae to drill is probably way more difficult than Jersey, but let's try it. I really want to add a lot of bounce to this 808. I have some slides in here. Which makes it sound super energetic. I'm going to probably lower the pitch. Might even auto-tune these vocals to make them fit a different chord progression, which will have a bit more of a dark drill vibe. I had a pad with some cutoff on it, which feels really kind of dark. I had this kick sequence. Punchy kick is really important for drill. This bouncy hi-hat I added here. You don't even need to change the magnet to get that signature drill bounce. You just add the first note, skip 2, the second note, skip 2, and add the third. Crisp clap. This roll in here with a crash and some percussion as well as these open hi-hats, which I'm slightly panning to the side. We also have this guncock sample here. I feel like that fits the vibe really well. For most of these, it's the mixing where I'm going to add a lot of the effects to make it really fit that genre, as well as tweaking with the melodies. And I have some awesome ideas when I come back to this to really get it to fit that drill vibe. Let's get the fifth genre. All right, which one can it be? Unexpected. Let's go, Jersey Club. Jersey Club is famous for that signature type of bounce. I'm sure you recognize this. With a kick on top of the bass. And a hi-hat that fits really close to the kick in the 808. One thing that really makes a Jersey club beat stand out is the squeak. I'm actually gonna go and find a squeak sample. We have this one squeak here, and the second one. And I'm layering these on top of each other. First one starts a bit higher, and the second one is a bit of a lower pitch. With that being said, that's the starting point for these 5 genres. I'm gonna have to do some mixing to blend these together. I'm now gonna go and perfect them and work on blending them together nicely. So now we're left with this absolute mess here. I'm gonna start by automating the BPM. Right click, create automation clip. So one easy way to do this, if you right click on the point, you can type in the value. For example, there's 110 BPM here. I'm gonna place another dot, which is 110 BPM. And then this one here, transitioning into hip hop, which is gonna be 147. I don't want it to immediately change the BPM. I want it to transition into it kind of like this. I'm gonna put another point here, make it 147, and then we're gonna put one in here for the reggae, which is gonna be 107. So I added this tempo automation here. If you right click on the point, you can click type in value and type in the BPM. And what I did is, right before the transition, I placed a point at 110 BPM, for example, and then we have that transition up into the next part, which is 147 BPM, which sounds something like this. The next thing that really has to change is the actual effects and mixing and mastering, because they're so much different for the different genres. To make this a bit simpler, I'm going to change a lot of the levels in the actual channel rack. For example, this open hi-hat is a teeny bit too loud, so I'm just going to lower it here, which means it's only going to lower for the R&B section. I'm going to add a little intro here, just a 4-bar intro. It's going to just have the melodies. I want to go into the Emotional Essence library, the drum section, SFX, and I'm going to grab a transition. These are going to come in handy later when I need to actually blend these together. I'm going to take out this vocal at the start. I'm going to solo this. I'm going to send this to a mixer track. I'm going to add a fruity reverb, turn the wet up, turn the decay up, and then I'm going to open an Edison, click record, and then click play straight away. Click stop on the record. I'm going to drag this sample in, and we should be able to reverse this to create a pretty cool intro for the actual vocals. I thought it sounded slightly better coming in before the actual vocals come in. It's just like another version of a transition. I'm going to open the slice tool and cut this bass up. Something cool I'm going to do is try and transition the drums. Instead of just stretching the BPM, I'm going to chop this last section. I'm going to go and make this unique. I'm actually going to grab this point here at 110 and bring it back just a little bit. We're going to grab the 808 because we're going from R&B to hip hop. Slice up this hi-hat here. Add this hi-hat roll here at the end. Snare roll. I started creating these cool little licks which transitions the drums from one part to another. For example, we have this R&B beat, and I really start to transition some of the samples into hip hop as the BPM is switching. I have no clue how I'm going to transition from reggae into drill. What I'm going to do is grab the last bit of this drill sequence here, drag it back here, make this reggae section unique, and I want to delete a lot of that reggae bounce. I'm going to automate the pitch for this part of the melody here, and just have it start to drop down. I'm going to have this fade out. Going from drill into Jersey, Jersey has that signature at the start, which is kind of similar to the drill bounce, which might give me something to work with. I want to make this section here unique, make the end of this Jersey bit unique. I'm going to take out the 808 slides. I'm gonna fade in these squeaks a bit. You know when you make a beat at night and you come back the next day and it sounds completely different? I try and use that to my advantage by coming back and listening to a beat before I send it out, just to add some last tweaks when your mind is fresh. All right, it's the next day. I wanted to spend all night tweaking this track. I also did the whole producer filming it and posting it thing, so I also want to get feedback from my followers and see if they like it. I also texted this off to some top producers and some of the responses are coming in now. I made some small tweaks to some of these transitions. Have a listen to some of them. This is the R&B into hip hop. I turned off some of the layers on the hip hop. The flute comes in slightly later and the hip hop into the reggae. I changed the levels on some of the layers, tweaked the gross beat around a bit and some of the timing. Reggae into drill is probably my favorite. We have some effects here. This gunshot money counter as well. The pitch automation. The walkie-talkie sound effect. And then drill into Jersey. I tweaked the mix and I added some distortion to the bass. I also changed the bass line because I forgot I just put it on C5, so I actually went and fixed that. And just like that, this beat is finished. Let's have a look at what some of these producers are saying about it. Jake has produced some awesome R&B and hip hop tracks. He seems to really like the transitions. This is what he says. MZ makes some awesome reggae melodies, live vocals, and live guitar. He seemed to really like the reggae transition. And this is a crazy difficult one going from reggae into drill, but I think it sounds really good. And also going from hip hop into reggae as well is probably just as bad. I actually think this flute fill is probably one of my favorite parts of the beat. Produced by JB, has worked with some of the biggest artists in the whole game. Thankfully, we got his stamp of approval for the hip hop beat. Derico, or Priority Beats, also really liked the hip hop and R&B section of this track. These transitions got some pretty good ratings. R&B to hip hop was almost max. Hip hop to reggae. Reggae to drill was rated really high. The drill to Jersey Club was quite a bit lower. I actually voted the lowest for this because I disliked this transition the most. I hope this was an entertaining, informative way of showing how diverse you can be in your tracks, how to create a beat switch, and also how to do it all in the same project. If you want to see some mixing tutorials, you want to see how top producers make their tracks, if you want to see me break down how some top songs were made, click one of the recommended videos or go to my channel. And if you want to get the samples I use to make tracks like this, go to wavegrind.com or click the link in the description to get tons of free packs.